Marcus Knight Gameplays y Cachondeo presenta Disco Elysium, episodio 12. Hola a todos mis coprolitas y coprolitas, bienvenidos a este vuestro canal Marcus Knight Gameplays y Cachondeo. Os habla Marcus Knight, un saludito. Bueno, hoy vamos a ver a leer un poco aquí con Disco Elysium, así que va a ser una partida algo de transición, pero no os aburráis.
From the right shoulder to the solar plexus. Each time the lines intersect, a small white star is formed in their crossing. Hundreds of fading asterisks riddle his skin. The pattern still kind of has an ethnic feel to it, but nothing familiar. The front of this quarterly journal features a large satirical portrait of the late King Friesel. From the sides of his head, a pair of white antlers spread to the corners of the cover. Because Friesel was incompetent, foolish, and cruel. In short, the embodiment of everything the communards wished to overthrow. It's satire, you see. Because white antlers are one of the symbols of communism. They represent a society, a shameful way to treat a former king. Even one as underwhelming as, to your disappointment, there aren't any full-color pictures to direct your attention. Just column after column of close. After rifling the pages, the magazine is divided into several sections. International developments, Kunst und Kultur, and local concerns. Comrade, as you know, this journal takes its name from Mazov's immortal expression, Du cristal à la fumée. This was his way of describing the way the rigid, but like the structures of capitalist ideology, we too are at risk of going à la fumée. Unlike many publications which are content to spoon-feed their readers reassuring drivel, La Fumée is committed to telling. So please, if you value our radical Mazovian perspective on contemporary politics, culture, and international affairs, please consider subscribing today.
What do you expect? It was laying around the office of the Debarders Union.
You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of contents unfolds before you. This section includes a long, tedious critique of the latest round of free trade negotiations between. You also skip over an article about heavy fuel oil smuggling along the Messina border. Something about bear wrestling in Samara. Book riots in Yugograd. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Bear wrestling. Flip back to that. It seems to be part of a new public fitness initiative in the People's Republic of Samara, SRV. According to this extremely credulous account, Uncle Sport, as he's affectionately known to his people, has recently decreed bear wrestling the national sport. Based on the description in this article, he appears to be an extremely competent and democratically elected. It's quite straightforward. A standard match features one man, or in some cases, woman, against one bear. Two competitors, one ring. According to the SRV's Ministry of Information, the program has been a tremendous success. Public support stands at 87%, and youth obesity and alcoholism rates are down 12% and 7% respectively. That's very much the idea. President Kaczynski has long maintained that a strong body is the best defense against capitalist aggression.
The Samaran People's Republic? No, I should expect not. Why do you ask? What you do in your spare time is your business. In the meantime...
You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of content. It takes a moment, but gradually it dawns on you that Kunst und... As you leaf through this section, you come across several reviews of recent radio plays, as well as a brief artist spotlight, featuring the main feature, though, is a long essay titled Tip Top Tournée, a critical Mazovian perspective. This so-called artist spotlight is really just a brief Q&A, made all the briefer by the subject's evident hostility to her interviewer. The actual article is surprisingly light on details, but after skimming a page or two, you gather that it has, if you don't follow it, you only ever hear about the ludicrous sponsorships and obscene death toll. You think you're settling in for a relaxing recap of the most recent season, maybe sprinkled with some nut. Instead, you find yourself skimming a 10,000-word feature about all the politically problematic aspects. Where to even start? For one, there's the crass commercialism of its sponsorships, and then there's the practically criminal emphasis on deadly motor crashes. Under capitalism, the article says, every pursuit has its price. Every pleasure, even one as elemental as the joy of race. Thus, the so-called tournée becomes a competition between increasingly meaningless brand signifiers. Your discount laundry detergent racing against it. And that precisely is what's problematic about it. Were it not for the promise of random, at the end of the day, it's the destruction of these 750,000 real races that you're really sure you think that, but subconsciously, it's the visions of brand. This flimsy magazine is right. Deep down, you know the only true stakes are life and glory. That's because you haven't been reading critically. But don't worry. The whole point of these sorts of articles is to let someone else read critically for you.
I can safely say the thought had never crossed my mind, Detective. I'm sure most things are, if the young men who wrote this article are to be believed. If I had to wager, I'd say they've never even seen the inside of a motor, much less a motor race.
You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of contents. Unsurprisingly, much of this section is taken up with articles declaring unqualified. You skim the headlines. Paint the harbor red and white. Martinez tames the wild pines. A city in revolt. Finally, there's a brief article by the writer, G. Martin, accusing the owner of the Capeside apartments of illegally attempting to evict certain communist this must be Gaston's handiwork. According to these editorials, there can be no accommodation with the forces of international capital. You flip back to the front of the magazine. It's the ledger you found in the trash. A pitiful cabbage of white and yellow papers hanging from plastic board, barely held together by a metal clip. This sad display is made complete. There's a piece of toilet paper, or is it cleaning tissue? No, it's toilet paper. It's a metaphor for you. In the back, you see thin, translucent copy of paper. Some neon yellow, some bright red, all covered in boxes, like marching armies. Then rip them from the binder and hand them out. According to 3, the topmost are misconduct fines, the middle ones are station calls, and the bottommost are field auto, a monetary penalization ranging from 20 to 250 real. Severe cases allow for 1,000 real, but that requires special pay. These are quite sinister in turn. They give a date and time for the person to appear at the specified precinct police station. Below the call, all in a print so small it could be considered downright cute. A dozen pages of thin copy paper, bright red in color. You see the parameters of a deceased human form, waiting to be color of the irises, predation marks, condition of sexual organs. Yes, all that remains now is to fill those forms and hand them to people. Fines for wrongdoers, interview requests for... The rest of the stinking cellulose is much worse for wear. Being sandwiched between the board and the rest of the paperwork must have spared the fragile copy. It's just toilet paper sticking to the back of the plastic clipboard. You can take it off if you want. Still wet, the toilet paper peels off the plastic easily. All you have to do is shake it off with your finger and voila! The ledger now looks marginally better. An aluminium block runs the width of the board, biting down on the paperwork. Its crocodile teeth are the only thing keeping the papers together. A regular pencil, the tip worn down to nothing. The surface is interrupted by a silvery sticker. It's rectangular, sparkling, looks like an official mark, made to be low visibility outside the right circumstances.
What? Yes, halogen watermark used for adding information to RCM property. It depends. Aside from an anti-counterfeiting stamp, mine has my station number and address. The information...
Your kill count. Yours will surely have your kill count.
Any capable light with the right wavelength will do. All RCM vehicles have headlights designed to reveal halogen watermarks. Mine too.
This means you can read the watermarks if you just turn the lights on.
Okay.
While a bunch of sodden papers sag from the clipboard in your hand, they're not exactly white. They're yellowed in patches by sunlight and alcohol and covered in dense blue handwriting. Ink escapes into watercolor patterns, reaching its tendrils across entire pages. The paper itself is checked. Once in a while, there's a red stamp that exclaims, "Case files commit to paper." The case files themselves are plenty. You count more than 100 sodden, crumpled up, earmarked pages, falling up. Work, strife, poverty, the Jamrock Quarter. These are handwritten logs of investigations dating back to January 51, this year. The exact number is hard to estimate due to missing pages and an odd naming convention. But there are at least 20. It's the middle of March. You have attempted 2 cases. What do you mean? Is that all? Yes, it appears you employ a, shall we say, robust yet literary system. Each investigation has its case number written on the margins. Yet, still more tellingly, most are, yes, all caps. One is called The Next World Mural. Another, The Square Bullet Hole Murders. Others appear more light-hearted. The guys on a couch in an unexpected location, and the murder at the hookah parlor. Even the rare article-free collapsing tenement. You like this grimy murdering. Wish there was one in there about a drug den. You love those. Gets the blood pumping. It's going to take an effort to piece these case files together, but it can be done. Once you're done inspecting them up close.
Huh? 2 complex cases to undertake is a lot, yes. You really have to push yourself. I would not suggest it, lest you start making mistakes. 2? That's a lot. I didn't mean to say you are making mistakes, by the way. That was presumptuous of me. That's okay. We all do, sooner or later.
Not you. You aren't. Like a fan of girls, the checkered papers dry in your hand. The handwriting is extremely dense, if mostly illegible.
You mean the alphanumeric? Officer, precinct, time of arrival at the scene? Oh, you mean the titular? Yes, well, so do I. In our defense, it's a holdover from the early days of the RCM, right after the revolution, when the organization had little idea how to do things. It persists in an unofficial capacity. Officers use these titles to refer to their work among themselves. Again, in your defense, I seem to have named one, the man with the hole in his head. That was a real person. His death was real. Still, I pray his loved ones never find out. Rail spiked through the head. He died. It was a workplace accident.
There is, for precisely one more. 15 pages near the end remain untouched by the damage. The checkered grid forms a structure of passages, breaking the case into subtasks to accomplish. The tasks you've completed flow out of the kind green ape pen in a brash freehand similar to the rest of the letters. The wording comes easily. It's all inspect the victim's body. Get the body down. Interview the cafeteria manager. A satisfying slash sounds across the paper. You're done, it seems to.
And a fuck you to you too. That last one cuts a slash right through the paper.
You're a swashbuckler with that pen, Harry, and it feels good. Feels like complete. Things to be done and things already done. The composition of reality. This is an extremely useful tool for a detective of the Citizens Militia.
No, actually. Any ideas? Great. That's great. That's actually what I was thinking too. The Hanged Man. Good. I'm going to start calling it the Hanged Man. It's good we sorted this out.
The notebook is annual. It says 51 on what remains of its cover. A molten strap of cardboard. Everything prior to this must have belonged to it.
Judging by the creases on your forehead and the lines on your cheeks,
You don't exactly close them, so much as distance yourself from the smelly papers. They're a little further from your nose now. Yes, you can piece them together using the alphanumeric code on the margin. It always begins with HDB41, then date of initialization and time of arrival on the scene, followed by the title. For example, HDB 4112. Why yes, your precinct number is 41. Every last alphanumeric in the files begins with it. And these are your case files. It's Harry Dubois, HDB. That's comforting to hear. Now, detective, it takes half an hour to piece one of these together, if you still want to. This one is relatively easy to reconstruct. Overnight on 1202, a graffito, nay, a mural, appears on an 8-story tenement overlooking central Jamrock. The building is a sparse. The mural is enormous. 2 silhouettes, a man and a woman. True love is possible only in the next world. For new people, it is too late for us. People call it that thing and that fucking thing. It's visible for miles. In 2 days, the station's complaints desk gets the graffito crew is easy to track down. Only the bell lecturers have the literage of industrial paint to cover the surface. One of the graffito artists is rumored to be rich. They take responsibility for the execution, but not the design. The ideologue of the next world mural, as the crew calls it, remain. The case files do not show you finding the author of the design. The crew agrees to clean up after themselves. However, your partner, JV, is against the removal, citing public support for conservation. This leads to a debate in Precinct 41, which then spreads to the streets of Jamrock. And the 9,000 people subjected to the mural's message, all of Lakeside, Central Jamrock, and Villalobos, plus half of the eminent domain, participate in the vote. Although the case begins with what appears to be a lot of rambling on the streets as to how juvenile and stupid the mural, a staggering 78% of voters choose to keep it. Turns out the opposition were a loud minority, and that love truly is possible in the next world for new people, and it is too late for us. Did anyone ask you what you believe in, man with the smelly toilet ledger? What do you want to tackle next? Or are we done? Not much has changed in the meanwhile. A bunch of sodden papers still sags from the clipboard. It's made of dark blue plastic, hard enough to beat someone to submission with. The edges are rounded, however. The U4 size board feels thick and heavy in your hand. Light shimmers on its wet surface. On the back you see the embossed letters. Something rattles inside, ever so lightly. Is there? And something small inside. Light, made of paper or cardboard. The plastic shimmers like lapis lazuli, but it is not. There's pain in there, if you want some. That much you know. With your hands, you four-sized pages hang from the clip screwed to the top of the board. The two sides of the board appear slightly misaligned, like a drawer that's come off its slides. If you bend, the slides snap back into place. It should be possible to just, without resistance or sound, the two panels move against each other. Two ticket stubs and a handmade postcard. Two octopuses are smiling, reaching their tentacles toward each other in the colored pencil drawings. The tickets permit access to the zoo in Revachol East. The aquarium costs extra. These let you go there too. Thin wax paper has been glued to a piece of cardboard. Sounds like leaves rustling when you pick it up. You see violet flowers, floral patterns. It smells of chewing gum. A touch of cinnamon, the end of summer. You think the label says tutti frutti. Familiar handwriting lines the inside of the card. Looped, round letters. Harry, it begins. You're already reading. I wanted to write you a letter so you can read it when... Throw it away, please. A merciful wind blows in from the bay of Revachol, dusting the ground at your feet and raising newspapers far away.
Let's go.
Frisson covers your entire body, a feeling of cold, a persistent chill. Your hands shake, holding onto it. Every morning when I step out and you're asleep behind me, it says, I find a little piece of sand. Every step I take, it grows. By the time I reach the fuel station, it has filled me entirely. I step onto the light rail and look back. Sparks fall from the bow collector. I know it will be like this until late afternoon. You. Every step I take will get lighter. It almost makes me run. Sometimes I do. I can't believe I met you. I can't believe the happiness I feel. Kisses, kisses, kisses. You feel the air sucked out of your lungs and the blood sucked out of your head. Everything around you gets dark. You feel the ledger slip from your hand. No, hold on. To what? There's nothing.
Detective, is everything all right?
¿Qué ha pasado? ¿Cómo?
There is nothing. Again. Well,
It didn't smell nice.
there is no Voyager road. There is no for you.
Oh, but
It's the lit glowing lights on a dashboard emerge out of nothingness. In the upholstered cabin of Lieutenant Kitsuraga's motor carriage, seated in the driver's basket, the air is thick with leatherworks and
Drink.
the water is cold, silvery, the stuff of life itself as it pours down your parched throat. The pound
Drink. You haven't drunk water in 2 days. Did you know the human body is not made to survive on alcohol alone? You need it.
with greedy gulps, you down half a liter of cold water. Some of it
No entendí lo que ha
spills
pasado.
on the driver's seat.
What happened? Good. You dropped this. Are you okay to proceed? Good.
The Ledger of Failure and Hatred is a special item that can be used both as an interactable and a tool equipped in your held slot for skill bonuses. Find it under the Tools tab in your inventory.
Madre mía. Bueno, pues creo que lo vamos a dejar aquí. Espero os haya gustado este capítulo de Elysium. Saludos cordiales, abrazos virtuales y nos vemos en los bares. Chao.